Head, shoulders, necklace.
Are you ready?
Welcome to Living Strong, the flip side of adversity, with your host, Dr. Bianca Jackson. On our program, we explore the flip side of every story. And when you open yourself up to both sides, you'll realize that there are life lessons, powerful tools, and so much more. Now, here is Dr. Bianca Jackson.
Hello, and welcome to Living Strong, the flip side of adversity. I am Dr. Bianca Jackson, the CEO and creative behind Living Strong Consulting. And I know if you've been following my posts all week, some of you have said, Metaverse. Wait, what is Metaverse? Well, I'm excited because we have a cutting edge innovator who is building a brand, building platforms, and being able to shift how we are moving forward in meeting and connecting and using our creativity to do it. So let me tell you a little bit about Bianca Jackson. She is an award-winning entrepreneur who is based out of Baltimore, Maryland. Her background in tech, digital marketing, and social impact has landed her and associated projects, such as her awards being a Pulitzer Prize. She has 40,000 plus followers on LinkedIn and the coveted speaking opportunities at events such as SXSW, Digital Summit Philadelphia, and Tech Inclusion New York. Her work has been featured in publications such as Forbes, Washington Post, and Tech Republic. Now, I know those of you who are on the radio don't realize, but this young lady is young, and she has already done so much. So we are going to lean in to receive her wisdom and unpack from the beginning to now, how did she do it? What is she continuing to do? And what should we know about her process and the potential of this thing called the metaverse? So welcome to the conversation on the flip side, Bianca.
Well, thank you for having me. And so, what's really funny? A lot of people think I'm young, but I'm not that young. I just look young. See, look.
Good genes, good genes. So I want to get to the metaverse, but I know that there's a story before we even get to there. And I know as an entrepreneur as well, I often ask when I'm listening to where someone is, my immediate first thought is, so how did they get there? So I would love to be able to walk our listeners through telling us a little bit about your background so that when we land in the metaverse, we understand how we got there.
I mean, that's a great question. And I would say this, like, I've loved computers and computer science ever since I was a kid, right? And so I got my first one when I was 10. And it was around the time, and I don't want to date myself too much, right? But it's around the time where dial-up was, wasn't in everyone's homes. You might have had that at the library, but you were fancy or your family was rich if you had the internet in your house. And so that's when you plugged in your telephone cord to the computer, and it do, and then you thought AOL was the internet. And so it really starts from that place, right? And so learning about computers, about programming in middle school, high school, went to Drexel University, as an information systems graduate. And then I entered corporate America, just doing different project management and kind of business analyst roles within tech. And so when I got to my last position in corporate America, I had the opportunity of managing an emerging tech team. And so I like to tell people the experience was like being asked to lead or to coach the US ski team without ever stepping on snow before, right? And so as you can imagine, right, emerging tech, I had spent all this time learning web, mobile, back-end databases, things like that, as far as managing projects, but never emerging tech. So there was a lot of research that I had to do. And so the emerging tech that we were working on was VR. Primarily at the time. And we built 3 products while I was there. One of the last products actually won a Pulitzer Prize. And so VR and AR are pretty much components of the metaverse. And so it's so funny because as people talk about it now, they're like, oh my God, what is this thing in the metaverse? It's like, well, you actually been in the metaverse for a really long time, or at least your kids have, right? And so, you know, for example, if your kids play with Roblox, right, you've been buying Robux, you're in the metaverse. If you are using filters for Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, you're in the metaverse. So there's different pieces that people really don't realize that they're using, but you're already there. And so that's the starting point. And so a couple of years back, you know, after managing those projects, I left the company, and then I went around the United States speaking, right? So South by Southwest, Tech Inclusion, Digital Summit New York, and Digital Summit Philadelphia, sorry. And just really trying to bring people into understanding what was coming from a technology perspective. And so as we were chatting a little bit, like, this is the future of socialization, right? This future of commerce, e-commerce. And so it was really important for me to share with people what I knew and what I knew was coming. And so now with the reemergence in interest of the metaverse, of course, due to NFTs, I think now is a pretty more important time than ever for people to really, really pay attention and actually take some action.
Yes. And there are a couple of nuggets that, as you were just talking, that spoke to me about your character, thinking about an entrepreneur, that how many times has someone actually been studying, working in their craft, identifying a particular area, and a new opportunity comes. And because they're unsure, they're so focused on what they've been doing that they pause and hesitate to walk into the next moment. But as I listened to how you just explained walking into your next moment, you were willing to do the work to catch up with and understand, okay, what's on the horizon? Stop getting so focused on where I am in this moment. I need to stand here, but look forward. Are there any other defining moments that really shaped how you have been able to stay relevant and innovative in the work that you're doing? Oh, Bianca, are you there?
It seems she might have been frozen.
She's frozen? Uh-oh. Well, as we are reconnecting,
Quick break.
yes, we will take a short break while we reconnect with Bianca's connection.
All right, we're all clear on break now.
Okay, here she is. She's back now.
Yeah, you know, technology is a funny thing.
You know, only because we're talking.
I have the music just kind of going and everything, so we can kind of just jump right back in, honestly, if you guys want to.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
That sounds good.
All right, I'll send it to you guys and I'll do a quick fade and everything so you guys can hear it. So here we go.
Thanks. So we were just talking about, and you know that technology got mad at us because we were talking about technology. So I don't know how much of the question you actually heard me asking, but it really was coming from a place of recognizing sometimes, especially as entrepreneurs, we get so caught in focusing on where we have built expertise, and we're so wedded to where we're standing that we're focused on where we're standing, where we can stand here, But in order to stay relevant, we have to be looking at the horizon. So, were there any other defining moments that helped you remain relevant and innovative as you've continued to build your business as well as you as a speaker?
That actually is a really great question. And I'll actually start with when I was still in corporate, right? And so one of the defining moments of even how I got here is that that team was so diverse, and diverse in, you know, people, diverse in thought. I mean, just diverse. And it was one of the best working experiences that I've ever had in my life, right? And so while I took it upon myself to learn as much as I could learn, whatever I couldn't figure out on my own, they were more than willing to sit down and talk me through just different technology, different things to go look at, different things to study, and also just teach me, right? And so that was really helpful, because what it showed me is that for this emerging technology, there is a place for everybody, right? And so that was one thing. The second thing was I got this really crazy idea that I was going to go to South by Southwest. And so if you know about this conference, the tickets are pretty pricey, right?
Yes.
And so about 2 weeks. And I got this crazy idea. I'm going to pitch them on a workshop idea, right? And so the guys were like really supportive of me doing that. And so I came up with this idea. I was like, all right, I'm going to pitch the idea of women in color in VR and AR as a session. And at the time I was like, I didn't see anything on their schedule that looked like that from years prior. I was like, this is going to be good, right? And so I went through this whole strategy of reaching out to just different influencers or people who were already making noise in the space. And I got 3 of the people that I didn't know to say yes. And so, you know, just the bravery of it all, right? For me, I just wanted to be the facilitator of the panel and just have them talk. And so what wound up happening was South by Southwest actually, they converted it to like a meetup, which was fine. And so I still got a ticket to South by Southwest. I got to meet one of the influencers and also a bunch of other people. So that was definitely a defining moment of, again, I came into this not knowing anything, right? And I spent almost 2 years researching, doing demos for the company, learning as much as I can, talking to the team, working on the projects, understanding the technology. And it was just like, you know, how hungry are you to learn this new thing, right? And so, not only hungry, but like how brave are you to go after something that just seems completely impossible? But it didn't seem impossible to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to submit this proposal and they're going to accept it. And that's just what it is. And that's what happened. My first time going to or attending South by Southwest, I submitted a proposal and it was accepted. That's it.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of times, kind of like to the point that you were saying, as entrepreneurs and even people in general, we tell ourselves why we can't do something versus trying to figure out how we can do it. And so
all the time.
Yeah. And so for me, it was really starting from a place of just fearlessness and just continuing with that. And so when I left, I, again, you know, went speaking about representation in VR and AR, you know, business opportunities in the space, as well as career opportunities as well. And so that was the basis. What was a defining moment, though, was when I got to Baltimore, I pitched someone on an idea of an emerging tech program, and it just wasn't received the way that I thought it would. And so that impacted me a whole lot, because I put that technology and my thirst for it to the side for now, until I was just like, you know, it just kept coming back up. Like, just there was someone who reached out to me who wanted to do a VR, kind of like a VR showcase in the space. So we did that. You know, just being able to go, I was supposed to go back to South by Southwest in 2020 to talk about like AI and machine learning. And then that got shut down. So like the emerging tech stuff was still kind of like lingering, like, hey, we're here, come talk about us. And so it just continued to just, what's the word? Reemerge. I think that's the word. It just kept coming up, and I couldn't get away from it any longer. And so with COVID and everyone moving their events to virtual, VR, AR, the metaverse came back up as an option for people who didn't necessarily want to just do their events in Zoom and Hopin and any other video conferencing platform. So those were some pretty defining moments. But the biggest one recently was after seeing everything that happened with COVID with our event space, Brickrose Exchange in
Yes.
Baltimore, it became apparent that we needed to diversify. So we were already doing live events. And so now it's just like, all right, we're going to do events in the metaverse, right? And so that decision came in December. And so now, like I shared with you before,
Yes.
we made quite an impact in the time that we have been doing it. And I'm just looking forward. Like we just recently was funded by Facebook. And I just want to continue doing this work, right? Like I already have the history, like 5 to 6 years at this point, but now reintroducing myself to the community that I'm in and also nationally and globally is like, okay, how much more can we do? And so I'm really excited about the opportunities of working with some young people, bringing them into the space, and also some older people. I think a lot of times when people think about emerging tech, they don't think about the elderly, but I got some things cooking in the background for that. But all of it is part of the story, part of the journey.
Yes. So we're already getting ready to take a break. But before we go on break, there's something that you just said, because I'm looking at our Facebook feed, the comments that are coming in, the questions that are already coming in, as well as I know this is an international platform with listeners of various generations. So I know I want us to slow down a minute, because you have been throwing around two sets of letters, and everyone doesn't know what VR. Now I know what VR is and AR, but actually let's use the words before we continue to use those two letters so people understand what you're talking about.
Sure. So VR, virtual reality. So just imagine there is a imaginary world or virtual world that you go into. You got augmented reality, AR, which you're augmenting your reality with something else, right? So think about your filters, the cats, the funny faces and the glasses and the funny hats. That's AR, augmented reality.
Yes. So when we come back from our next break, I'd love for us to jump into actually talking about your transition, understanding Brickrose Exchange. So tell them about the actual brick and mortar business. And then what are the experiences that you're now also building around the metaverse? And why should we get excited about it? Because it is going to be different than Zoom. So when we come back from this next break, I want you to stay close to this conversation, because if you want to remain creative, if you want to create experiences for your team, for your ministry, because multiple different platforms, whether it be congregations and churches, whether it be youth groups, whether it be corporate America, there's an opportunity for us to learn and begin to move into this new reality that we all have. Meeting in person, we've discovered that we can get a lot done and not actually be in the same room. But now we're getting ready to share with you how you can do it creatively and innovatively, and people will be talking about your event for months after it is over. So stay close. We will be right back.
All right, all clear.
Thanks, Gabe.
I feel
All
like
right,
I
so
take you everywhere.
Huh?
I feel like I got to take you everywhere. Like put you in my box.
I am so excited, and people are in, and Winetta Smith, she says, wow, this is informative. We haven't even gotten into the meat yet, Winetta. Wait. Hello, Chayla, Jeanette, Kyla. This is definitely something of interest to me. Chayla said, yes, please teach us. Margaret. So now, Margaret, she said, that's right. The boomers are willing to learn.
I know they
Margaret,
are. I know they are.
she has already said she's cooking something up for you. She's
Mhm.
cooking something up for you. I don't want, our Facebook community, they are kind of our behind the scenes group. So they get to see all of the stuff behind the scenes, and they get the extra outtakes that the radio community doesn't get to hear.
Got it.
And so there are those who are, I've seen Margaret and Dale and yes, and Tori and Nancy. These are individuals who I know because I've spoken for their events,
Oh,
are
sorry to
doing
interrupt. We're
events.
coming back in 10 seconds.
10 seconds. It was a fast break, people. We're going to jump right in.
This is Living Strong, the flip side of adversity with Dr. Virdra Jackson. To reach the live show today, call into 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@livingstrongllc.com. Now, back to Living Strong, the flip side of adversity.
Well, welcome back. I know I'm just on 10 because this whole Bianca allowed me in our initial preparation for this conversation. She let me go into a gallery experience of the metaverse. And I know this is cutting edge opportunity. So we've been talking a little bit about Bianca's background and not only her professional experience, but her character, her willingness to be fearless and to step into moments, not shrink back, but recognize that I might not know everything in this moment, but I know I can do the work to get to the place that I'm ready to share with others. And so that kind of innovation, character, and energy is everything for us when we're talking about creating a flip side to your story. So she's already shared how she has been the first in several situations, and she's figured out how to stand strong in those moments. And before our break, I asked her to get ready to not only tell us about the Brickrose Exchange, which is her brick and mortar actual facility, but in a pandemic, she took not only the brick and mortar experience, but expanded it to the metaverse. And so, Bianca, can you tell us a little bit about the actual Brickrose Exchange and how is that now exploding with the metaverse? Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah, I say you're so exciting. So when it comes to Brickrose Exchange, we opened our doors in July 2019. And so we weathered the pandemic basically. And so we've actually been able to do revenue or sales, 2 times each year. So which is good. We took some really unusual risks and things like that to really keep it open. And so we are in Baltimore. Not too far from downtown. If you're familiar with the Fells Point, Canton neighborhood, we're somewhere in there. If you know Captain James, we're right down the street from the big boat. And so in our time that we've been open, not only have we been able to do that, but we've done a lot of work for the community. So social impact and philanthropy are at the cornerstone of what we do. And so the work that we've done around the community and artists and creatives and small business owners and families, our work has been, I guess you could say, supported and funded by like American Express, Comcast, BGE, and most recently Facebook, right? And so now with the metaverse, well, let me go back. So COVID was basically a catalyst for why we needed to diversify, right? And so while, we were able to keep our doors open, it was just like we needed to add more just in case if anything like this ever happens again, right? And so it was a natural transition in my eyes, right? From being a live event space to doing events in the metaverse. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. And also I just had the background for it, right? And also it was met with the perfect storm of everyone being interested in it, right? And so it just made sense. It made sense to give people another option, like you said, a creative option, way creative than Zoom, to be able to meet with clients, customers, the community, even to listen to people for forums. Like there's so many possibility, and the opportunities are endless. And I just want people to start thinking about, what could I do in the metaverse, right? And so, I teach classes, I run boot camps around it, and I'm working, like I said, I got some things cooking for the boomers and also corporations. But I just want people to understand and start thinking about, what can I do in the metaverse? And if you don't know, there's a class that I do that people can actually attend to get more information about that. So
Wonderful. So I'd like for our listeners, and we talked about kind of walking through articulating, how is a metaverse experience an opportunity
yeah.
to just blow the minds of your participants. So, and I don't want to blast Zoom too much because it's supporting us in this moment. So we want to thank Zoom, but we can build from where we are and recognize, if you are tired of holding meetings with the checkerboard or a presentation, and you got the partridge squares of everybody in the gallery view, and you actually want to have individuals enter into a space, and you're facilitating. So tell us, paint a verbal picture of, I'm going to paint a verbal picture of an example of an event and walk us through that moment.
Oh man, it's such a great question. So actually an event we did about 2 weeks ago, right? So we actually had a sponsor speaker series. So Dr. Cleo came in and was talking to us about Black love, right? And how to heal generational trauma amongst Black people. And so it was a really informative, it was inspiring, it was engaging, because not only were we in the virtual gallery that had artwork, and all the artwork represented just different images of Black love, but to have that conversation in a virtual space like that. And so just imagine, at night, most people don't want to leave their houses, right? And so you can just go to your computer, go to your phone, go to your headset, and now be inside this space, this world, this virtual space, with all these other people listening to the same content, interacting with each other. And so when you start thinking about just showing up differently, right? Like a lot of times when we go to events, we are anxiety, right? And for those of us who are introverts, it's just like, oh my God, I don't want to be here too long. I don't want to talk to anybody. Well, I'm not sure if anyone's going to talk to me. So a lot of that just is erased, right? And so there's this real sense of like belonging. For the people who are organizing the event, you can like really amplify, your reach through PR, through connection, like people having a really good time and not feeling the stress of the everyday ills of being in person, right? And so going even beyond that, there's more opportunities to make money, right? And so in that particular exhibit or experience, there were sponsorships. So imagine taking your virtual event, you're bringing all these people together for connection, for belonging, but you're also making money, right? And so that's just one example of what could happen. And so for us, in our physical space, we actually have art shows and showcases. So for me, it was just mimicking a lot of the live events that we already do, but bringing them into the metaverse inside this virtual space. And so that just gives you an example. If you ever been to an art museum, just imagine that's what it was and somebody was speaking. But you got really cool avatars. It looks like Sims. It's fun. And the whole environment was customized, and it had like a particular feel. Like the feel was love, right? Like how do we feel this love? And so it goes way beyond, like you said, the checkerboard squares and the partridge family. But just imagine, instead of them looking at somebody's flat face on this flat screen, that you see their bodies and they're floating and walking around the space, and you can do different movements. I had people dancing in there, like they were doing the mashed potatoes, and like it was crazy, but it was good, right? It was good because
Right.
a lot of times we don't go out in public for whatever reason. Sometimes for women is, oh, my hair is not done and my nails aren't done. And for men is like, I'm tired and my wife wants me to get home early. So you kind of eliminate all of those things by people being able to get on with any type of a device that they have. So their phone, their computer, and also a headset, right? And so several years ago when, VR, kind of made like the big splash, right? Because of like the different movies and stuff that were out, the only way you can really get on was a headset. And then there were some beginning products where you could use a computer, but no one had phone access. And so like the technology is just blowing everything out the water. You're definitely crushing the digital divide and making everything accessible. And that's why I'm so excited about this. And for me, it's important that I help to usher as many people in as safely as possible. And also make sure that they have a fun experience. Like I want people when they get to the metaverse, like, oh my God, this was cool. When can I come back? And so the other thing that I think is really important, there was a study done for people who visited metaverse environments, especially like if it was an e-commerce related environment, that it was 70% of visitors said that they would return, and also that they would actually buy something out of that experience, right? And so that's something, related, but a little bit off tangent, but I just want to talk about the importance of that, right? The importance of that is how many people go to a website. Let's just say out of 100, how many people actually buy? You got maybe like 1 to 2%. 1 to 2% matching 70% of people who are willing to buy and will buy from like kind of like this e-commerce metaverse experience. There's a lot of opportunity, and I just don't want people to get left behind because they may not know, they may have heard of it, they may not know where to go get information. And so again, like in the class that I teach, we talk about these things, right? And we start, talking about business strategy, what you could do. I even highlight, what some big brands are doing, so you can kind of like peek in, because I know a lot of people aren't going to follow Google alerts or anything, or, just even all these news articles, but I do, right? And so being able to get the shortcut, right? The cheat code,
Yes.
as I call it, right? So that you have to spend all that time doing it because I'm already doing it. My team is doing it. And so it's just like, come learn the information, get the fast track.
So I would love for those who are listening, who are thinking about how could I create my next event, to envision being able to sit down with you and your team and begin to really use creativity, because the concept is I'm not coming to an event to just watch it on the screen. I build my avatar and I enter into the event. That changes the game, especially, and how you began to talk about, even before we began to really unpack the metaverse, you and I keep coming back to it, but I have to because I think it's foundational. You and your character of keeping your eye on supporting minority businesses, those who you can actually touch in the community. Because your character was there first, you're now laying the opportunity for financial boom and direction because you're already a giver. So now you're trying to encourage the rest of us, get on board because the train is getting ready to leave the station. And now technology is within our reach. So as I'm hearing you say, we don't have to have the big headset anymore in order to go into the metaverse. We actually could sit with you and your team and create the conference, invite individuals who want to. I think of Beyonce and Fierce, Sasha Fierce. I could create Sasha Fierce and show up at an event and have my avatar be a part of an event and have an opportunity to create vendorship, to be able to do, I believe, auctions, to have any type of platform that actually is generating revenue at the same time. So if I heard you correctly, one, we can be a part of innovative technology that's not complicated. You've done the work already, so you're able to help us create and customize the metaverse event. And when our guests arrive, they are so enthralled, they're going to want us to do it again. And it is a money-making opportunity to build our platform, our business, and our products in a whole new way. Did I catch all the key points?
You did. And I think we need to take this show on the road.
I love it. I love it. This is an opportunity if those entrepreneurs who are sitting on the edge of their seat and they're wondering, how can I make a shift in my company? And you said my words. So I know that we're just getting to know each other. But my word, my first published book outside of in not just self-publishing, but it was actually published by a publisher. So the first book that I took to a publisher to be printed, the name was Fearless Conversations with the Limitless God. And I stress in that book that I'm not talking about fearlessness as recklessness, but it's recognizing I'm going to go in this thing, and regardless of what goes up or down, I can't lose because I'm going to innovate and continue to create. So we have 3 minutes before we take our next break. Where are you when you're thinking about your journey as an African American woman in this moment? What are the key habits that help you stay standing?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I would say
And guess what? We got 2 minutes.
yeah, I would say the key habits are continuing to do stuff like this, right? Building relationship, building connection, reinvigorating relationships, studying, research. I read so much content. I watch so many videos. And also, even when I get in conversations like this, I'm always listening for opportunities, right? And opportunities from the sense of what is it that people don't know that they need help with, right?
Yeah.
Because we all know if you can solve a problem, you can do anything with that, right? And so I know that there are a lot of business owners and even corporate leaders, business leaders who are just like trying to figure out what they're going to do in this space. And I want them to, when they start thinking about this and they start having a conversation, they're like, you know what, we need to talk to Bianca.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk to Bianca.
Yes.
We need to do something
Yes.
with Brickrose Exchange. Like I want them to already start making the name synonymous with Bianca Metaverse. Brickrose
Yes.
Metaverse.
I love that. I
So,
love that because you've done the work and they recognize I don't have to continue to struggle with this. Let's call Bianca so that we can quickly move forward and stay ahead of those, because if we're honest, there are many who are entrepreneurs, but they're afraid of actually creating or strengthening their reach muscle. And
mhm.
if you're listening and you're willing to reach and reach for more, this is your opportunity to call Bianca. Absolutely. So before we take our next break, Bianca, what is your website address so that while we're on this next break, people can begin to look for the metaverse on your platform?
Sure, I'll drop it here in the chat, but I'll also say it at the same time. So this is for the class. So it's brickrosemetaverse.org. So it's like brick on a wall, rose like a flower, metaverse.org. And so that'll take you to the class that, I do every 2 weeks. So I think the next one is coming up on the 8th. So you can definitely join that class.
All right, March 8th. If you have been intrigued, this is your opportunity to go grab your spot, and recognize you can be fearless. It is not something that is outside of your reach. This moment is a destiny moment. It's a pivot moment. Don't miss it. We will be right back.
All right, all clear.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, people are, hello, Lorene. Winetta, yes. Dale just has a huge yes. She said, and Nancy has already put the website into the Facebook chat. So Facebook, there's no reason why you cannot be a part of March 8th's class, because I am looking at these names and I know events are what you do. But now get ahead of what everybody else is still scratching their head and getting confused about. Call Bianca. She already said it. Yes, indeed. Hello, Betty. We had somebody log in and say they were tuning in from Tuskegee University. Hello, Margaret. What are you doing in Tuskegee? I tell
Coming
you
back
what,
in 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Tell Margaret to send me a direct message. She's at Tuskegee. We need to talk.
Change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
This is Living Strong, the flip side of adversity with Dr. Virdra Jackson. To reach the live show today, call into 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@livingstrongllc.com. Now, back to Living Strong, the flip side of adversity.
Welcome back. I hope you have been enjoying this cutting edge conversation. We're creating opportunity. Now you have to decide, are you going to take it? This is the moment in time. We already shared, it's not something that you have to figure out on your own. Bianca and Brickrose Exchange have already begun doing the homework for you. And this is your opportunity to create experiences, not just a meeting, to create connection, not just a conversation, and create relationships in a virtual setting that remain safe for individuals who may not necessarily arrive or feel confident to show up in person. It is the best of both worlds. So we've been talking a lot about your character and this opportunity, but I know it has not been easy. So will you be willing to share with us what have been some of the challenges to creating a shift and a pivot, especially in a pandemic?
Oh, wow. I mean, you have some really great questions. I would say this. I'll start at the beginning of the pandemic. So while everyone was pretty much laying off people, I did something crazy. I actually hired people. And so I went from, it was me and another person, to our team became 6 people. And so what I realized between the two of us initially, that while we had great ideas, it was helpful to get more people in, and also more people who could help out with the physical space. So the young lady was actually based in California. I needed more help here in Baltimore, and also just more ideas. And so we went from a team of 2 to 6. And between the six of us, we brainstormed really ideas. And so I did something even crazier. We weren't making money, so I had to pay people out of my savings, right? But it was the best decision that I made, because if I didn't do that, we wouldn't have came up with the ideas. We wouldn't have had more hands to help out. And so it helped us actually stay open, and actually helped us put us on a trajectory of doing really, really well. And so that was the first thing, right? Having that faith that this was the right thing to do when everyone else was doing something completely opposite, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing was, because the space was closed, what could we do? We could help out the community. And so while we are not a nonprofit, we are a social enterprise. So like I said, social impact and philanthropy is at the cornerstone of our business model. So we said, my background, I used to work for the school district in Philadelphia, and I did some after school work as a STEM teacher here in Baltimore. And so as I was watching the news and saw that school children here in Baltimore wouldn't be able to eat because a lot of kids eat at school, it really broke my heart, right? It broke my heart in a lot of different ways. And so I remember having all this anxiety and panic about, like, all right, how are we going to pay the mortgage? And I just, I don't want to get too religious, but basically the message was around, don't worry about that, just do something for the kids, right? And so at the start of the pandemic, we raised money and food and art supplies for 12 families, right? And so we did that. And so what was really great about, after we executed that, I got an email from the bank that says, hey, we're going to cover the payments for 9 months, right? And so you're just talking about faith, right?
Yes.
Faith,
Yes.
just being obedient. I think that's the best way of describing it. Being obedient to what you're instructed to do. And it's just like, okay, so you got having a team going from 2 to 6, right? Crazy, right? Taking our resources and giving back to the community, although we weren't making money, but we're still blessed in another way. And so it's been pivots like that of doing a thing that doesn't seem to make the most logical sense, but I knew that from a faith perspective, that's what we had to do. And so even doing that, the food drive, it helped us to do more philanthropy type work throughout the pandemic. And so that work has gotten us recognized by major corporations, as well as the innovation for the programs that we put forth. And so like one was, we actually had pop-ups for pop-up vendors, but we went a step further. So in addition to having space for pop-up vendors to come sell at our location, we actually gave them sales and marketing training. Right. And so let's think about it like that. Like how many pop-ups have you gone to where you see the vendors and you're like, oh, if they had a better setup, or, people, just had, a better sales pitch that they could have made more money, right? Or even just how to engage people walking by. But we went that extra step of providing them the service to them, the training to them. And so it made the difference. And so we were doing things like that. And so that's where the transition, is this the right thing? We're doing something different. And just kind of just giving people an understanding of how Brickrose was started and what is the basis of it, is coming up with really innovative ideas, finding really cool partners, right? Making sure that we still do good in the community, no matter what we're doing, right? And then we reinforce our brand name. And so those things, kind of fit on something called like a flywheel. And so everything we do has to do those 4 things. And so that was pretty much the compass for making it through the pandemic. And there were a lot of hard times, right? Where, rollback and restrictions, we had to shut down again, revenue went down or whatever, but we always got it back up, right? And so between the initiatives and working with the public and just, I don't know, just continue to be innovative, right? This is why here we are now. And so it became even more beneficial, especially adding tech back to the piece of it. Because I've always told people, my goal when I came to Baltimore in 2018, kind of like scoping everything out, was to have this space that mixed art and tech. Well, now we get back to that. And so I'm like beyond excited to be able to do it in a way that a lot of people are interested now. they're very, very interested. And so we're going to keep rolling with this interest.
Yes. I love it. The whole concept of this is not just about me. Now, Living Strong, it was built out of 7 key pillars of abundance. And our foundational pillar is faith. And the other 6 are tied to time and mindset and relationships and health and all of those elements. But foundationally, it's faith. And when I think about the moment when you could have gotten stuck, instead of holding on to the fact that I should know or that I need to figure this out, you reached for others to bring to the table so that there are diverse voices for innovation. And through faith, as we continue to recognize what I'm doing actually isn't just about me, we absolutely, those who are believers, what we need will come to us if we continue to focus on the fact that what I'm doing is not just about us, it's about others as well. So we only have, this has flown by. I have loved this. And for those of you who follow me on social media, and if you don't follow me on social media, I'm giving you a heads up right now. You need to, because I'm going to be asking Bianca, look, I'm putting her on the spot. I hope she doesn't close out the Zoom. So I'm going to ask her if she will send me a couple of screenshots of examples of a metaverse image. And with the replay tomorrow, if you didn't have pen and pencil, and you missed some stuff, guess what? The replay will play tomorrow. We will have it posted. But on my social media page, we're going to add a couple of images to also add to your picture of what we've been talking about. And then, Bianca, we have about 3 minutes. I want to make sure they understand what the class is for March 8th and how to enroll. Take us out.
Sure. So the class on March 8th is basically for entrepreneurs, business leaders who are trying to figure out how to bring their business into the metaverse or bring the metaverse to their business, right? And so in the class, I give you examples of what some big brands are doing and also what some smaller companies are doing so that you can get some inspiration. Because a lot of times there's like an intro question, like video that I ask people to do because I really want to deliver content that's specific to them. And a lot of times people don't know what to ask, right? And so even with that, you coming in with at least an idea or some enthusiasm and motivation around wanting to learn what you're going to do, we will break down some ideas that you could take back and start to think about, right? And so that's the more important thing. So you've heard about the metaverse, you're like excited and you're like, all right, I don't know what I can do there. That's what this class is. And so you'll be there with other people. And so the really cool thing about it is that it's in the metaverse. And so it's not on Zoom. Yeah, you get to come to my environment, right? You get to come to my environment, watch the class in the metaverse, and also be in the actual physical environment with your avatar. And I'm gonna teach you how to dance, I'm gonna teach you how to move, but you're gonna learn some really impactful and valuable information that literally could take your business and help you amplify it and just provide better experiences for your clients, your customers, your teams, your members, whoever. And so you get there again, www.brickrosemetaverse.org. So brick on a wall, rose like a flower, Brickrose Metaverse. So
yes. Bianca, thank you so much, not only for bringing us a valuable opportunity, but also providing guidance for entrepreneurs who have been afraid, because this has been scary. This has been a scary 2 years. But in this conversation, you just gave us a roadmap through your example of character and boldness, of recognizing that If no one else is doing it, don't be afraid to step into the arena. If you don't know yet, don't be afraid to do the work. And guess what? Bianca and Brickrose Exchange, Brickrose Metaverse will support you if you begin to just take the first step. Well, my sister, I thank you so much for this conversation, and I'm grabbing my spot. I hope you grab yours. Every listener, as soon as I get off, I'm registering for my spot. Make sure you don't miss this opportunity. As always, it has been an amazing conversation. Thank you again, Bianca, for being on the flip side. And listeners, I hope that you will stay connected every Thursday, same time, same place. Meet us right back here on the flip side. We'll see you next week.
All right, all clear. Great show, you guys.
Great. Thank you, Gabe.
No
Have a
problem.
good one.
You too. I'll try
You
to clean
sound
up
better
that.
too.
Oh yeah, my throat is definitely a lot better. So yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll try to clean up that little kind of connection thing so it seems a little bit seamless and everything. But yeah, I got you guys. So take care, you guys.
Appreciate you, Gabe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Facebook community, I hope that we got the hearts. Do you recommend it for people without a business as well? What do you think about that question, Bianca?
I think come to the class.
Facebook.
Yeah, I think come to the class to figure out what you could do with it, because the metaverse is more than just environments. You have NFTs. There's so many other avenues that
What's
are
an NFT? What's an NFT?
Non-fungible token. So basically, that's how people are selling art, music, songs. So if you actually create stuff, but it's a hobby of yours, you can find ways. But I would say for anyone who's interested, just come, because you never know what type of inspiration you'll get from the class.
Wonderful. Yep. Lady Dale, I sure did. She said, call us out, sister. I sure did. I called you out. I called all of y'all out. I don't want anyone who logged in today, I want to see how you will knock down the walls to what you think are possible by just stepping out and trying something that makes you nervous. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
So we always ask a question that just the Facebook community gets.
Okay.
And when I look at your credentials, what approach did you take to find yourself in well-known publications like Forbes, Washington Post, and Tech Republic? What can you give us advice on how did you find yourself there? What did you do to get there?
Well, that was not the question I thought you were going to ask, but yes, we can definitely talk about that, right?
Did I get a second one then? Because I want the one you thought I was going to
ask. Well, let me say what the one I thought you were going to ask was around, oh man, what was I think you were going to ask? How did I get here? But in a different way. I'll come back to that. Publications. Actually, publications aren't hard. There is a website called Help Out a Reporter, so Haro, Haro. And so you can sign up and they send out kind of like requests for pitches 3 times a day. So it's like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., noon, and then like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. And so just replying back to pitches saying, hey, I do this type of work. And then sometimes you get picked up and sometimes you don't. That's
nice.
One of the simplest ways. I think a lot of times when you aren't necessarily like a big influencer, it's hard to get press in a way. And so that's one way to do it. Just pitch your story from that website, and then you'll probably get a writer who's like, oh yeah, I definitely want to talk to you, right? So that's one way.
And what was the website again?
Haro, so it's Help a Reporter Out. Help.
Okay.
Help. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Help a
Yes, great.
reporter, right? So HARO. So that's the name, that's the acronym, but literally the website is called Help a Reporter Out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. All right. So now you gave me two assignments because I've always wondered as I look at entrepreneurs and like, so how did they end up in Forbes, or how did they end up here, or how did they end up on Good Morning America, or so how did you get from here to there? What step could someone like myself or another entrepreneur who's listening, what step could they step into to get them there, get them
Yeah,
closer?
the most important thing is knowing how to pitch,
Mm.
how to pitch
Mhm.
yourself. So if you can master that in storytelling, you can get pretty far with that without a publicist.
Nice,
Mhm.
nice. So now, before you go, what did you think I was going to ask you? Or
Yeah,
not even the question, what were you going to answer?
you're so funny. I think I think I was gonna I thought you were gonna ask me something about the journey, right? And what it has been like being like a Black woman in tech. Cause that came up yesterday. You're so funny. That came up
Go there.
yesterday. Yeah, it came up yesterday when I was doing our interview for something else that's coming out later this month. But a Black woman on set, young Black woman, I think she's like in her early 20s, asked me that question. And all the guys in the room was like, oh my God, that's such a good question. And I think the story that I share with them, and I'll share with you, is that a lot of times people don't realize how few Black women, or at least when I was there, how few Black women there are in tech. So we range from like 2 to 3%, or at least that was the percentage then in like 2017. And along the way, I faced all types of situations, we'll call it that, right? From people not realizing that I was the one running the meeting to being the secretary, right? And so just being at that power position, there's just been a lot of stories, right? And so I shared one story in particular with her yesterday around me having a conversation with my manager at the time. So it was a Filipino woman. And I said to her, I said, and we were real cool. I said, I'm the only Black woman here, right? And she goes, no, right? And it's really interesting is that when something doesn't affect somebody, most of the time they never notice, right? And so I said, I'm gonna need you. So I went like this. I was like, I put my hand on her shoulder. I said, I'm gonna need you to like close your eyes, right? So she closed her eyes. She indulged me. She closed her eyes and she goes, and I said, all right, I need you to think about every person that you know on this floor out of the 115 people. Who else in here is a Black woman? She goes, oh my God, you're right. I said, I know. Like, this is my experience. And like, this is my experience. And I think a lot of times, unless you've been the only person that looks like you in a room, you never notice.
Mm-hmm.
You never
Mm-hmm.
notice. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I said that to her, she goes, oh my God, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I have to deal with. Every day I come in here, I'm the only one. And so I've been in that situation more than once because I worked for some pretty big name companies. Like I'm talking Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 or whatever. And so I'm used to being in these environments with people who don't always look like me, trying to communicate things about, really expensive projects. And it it was quite the journey, right? But I wouldn't take anything, I wouldn't change anything because it helped me to become the person that I am today. And decided when I left corporate that I was still going to do something with tech. I just didn't know how I was going to incorporate it in what I'm doing. And now look, the metaverse with my event space. And so
And it's
it just,
going to benefit all of us.
yes, it totally is going to benefit all of us. But I think the most important thing for everyone who's still listening, don't be afraid. And you said it earlier, it's like, don't miss the train. One of my other advisors said earlier today, she was like, it's like entrepreneurs are a cruise ship and we're all coming into the port. And like, you don't want to get left at the port because you're afraid. And it's like, no, you don't want to get left at the port because you're afraid. You don't want to get left at the port because you're too busy trying to analyze. You don't want to get left at the port because you're at Google University and YouTube University trying to make sense of something that I already spent the last 7 years learning and actually doing, executing, demoing, doing the research. Like, when I actually started documenting all the things that I've already done around this space. I mean, I was in a research incubator at University of Maryland, right? I was in a pitch competition pitching my VR app idea, you know, going around the country doing demos with my company when I was in 9 to 5, right? And just everything in between that. And now more new research around the metaverse and what's happening as far as new technology. And it's just like, do you really want to try to figure all that out on your own? Why?
No. Yeah. Why?
Why?
Cut to the chase.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
This was great. I hope you had a good time.
I did.
This was great.
I did.
This was great. I am looking forward to the replay and continuing to push this out in a couple different areas. But if you don't mind, I know I put you on the spot, but I want people to have, sometimes a visual image will help things continue to click. So we're going to post the replay. If you're willing to send me some screenshots or something that I can post with the replay, as well as put the course, the website to the course sign up. We're going to put all that together first thing in the morning and put it out on our platforms.
Oh yeah, I definitely do that. And so the platform that I'm using right now is Spatial, right? And so I'll make sure that you can do like a credit for it. But my idea is just to introduce people with what's possible, right? There's so many other customized things you can do, but I need to get people in there where they're like, oh my God, this is fun. And then we can like move them up the ladder. So yeah, I'll send you something over.
Thank you so much. You have a great rest of your evening and greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This won't be the last time you see me. Now, when you see me in the metaverse.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see you in the metaverse. All right.
Take care, sis. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye.